Keith, and talk about Manchester City. Now, in the Nottingham Forest appeal verdict, the board said future appeals are likely to fail and could be rejected. What do you make of that news? And actually, given the current situation that Manchester City find themselves in, is that bad news for them?
Well, no. Again, I'm very, very disappointed in the language that came out of that judgment. They were basically saying that, don't go into our judgments and really criticize them in any great detail because we are the top guys and we're going to tell you that's it. So don't try and criticize us. And I just thought that, come on, that's ridiculous. And, how can they say that appeals won't succeed? It all depends what the appeal's about. If they have not carried out the case and judged it properly and have broken points of law or regulations in football, of course the appeal's going to succeed. Basically, I think they got really fed up because they'd misjudged it themselves and they made conflicting judgments in different appeals and different judgments. So they found themselves that they tied themselves up in knots. And then to sort of hide behind this idea of, well, we don't think appeals will work because you can't really criticize us too much and don't look into too much detail about what we've said and don't worry if they conflict. I found that whole thing staggering. And again, to me, just adds to the mess that the Premier League got themselves into.
I mean, it's now been 15 months, Keith, since we first heard about the potential charges. Now the dust has settled around Everton and Forest. Where do you think Man City lie? What will their current feelings be going into the investigation, irrespective of how long it's going to take?
Well, I'm sensing a bit of a mood change here in things, that Man City are seeing some sort of way through this. And I think the Premier League would also want to try and find a way through this, which, would be those clubs that have been sanctioned already would obviously be very disappointed if there is some sort of fudge found around this. But I think it may be to everybody's benefit, apart from those clubs that have already been penalised. We've got to see how it does play out. Look, again, there's no transparency. So we're really stuck here trying to play second guessing. And that's why, the Premier League don't like that and they don't like being criticised. But the fact is, because they've been so, untransparent, we're all having to try and work different options and scenarios through. So I'm sensing that mood change that City think they're going to be okay and they're going to find a way through this. What will add to that, I don't know. And why that would happen, I still don't understand it. But I know the Premier League feel that if they were to reach the position where they're to expel Man City, it would be an earth tremor for them. And so, we'll have to see how it plays out and who's really got the stomach to get into this gunfight.
We've now seen, Keith, that the breakdown for the charges, as an example, 54 times they failed to provide accurate information, 35 they failed to cooperate with the Premier League investigations. What are your thoughts? And I mean, I know we discussed in previous weeks about the potential of them categorizing the charges. Is that now likely to take shape, do you think? Do you think it could be a sort of a section A, B, C, D, and so on sort of procedure?
Well, that's what I've been calling for when I've been asking for expedition of this whole case, is that they're categorized, and if we can try certain categories as they go along. However, if they're so interlinked with each other, which may be the case, or they're made to be interlinked with each other legally, then obviously it's difficult to do. But that's what I'd hope would have happened. Again, of course, I don't know the detail behind that and whether that's really realistic, but certainly it was a path that I think should have been explored about a way to have got this done sooner. I still have a feeling that everybody should have waited for any judgment on anything until the City one had been handled first, because it was the first cab off the rank. And I think that would have been fair to a degree as well. It would have brought the whole system into chaos, but then again, that's part of the issue that they've got. I think Man City, if it can be categorized and there is no interlinking, then I think they should get on with it as soon as possible and try and bring this to a closure. And then if we get the PSR rules sorted for next season, then hopefully this whole sorry incident will not rear its ugly head again.
Richard Masters, as we've discussed in previous weeks, Keith, has said the date is set and the case will resolve itself at some point in the near future. What are your thoughts around a statement like that? Rather than being quite specific and letting people know roughly what the timeline is, they've obviously been quite unclear. Is it disappointing now, given the scenarios that both Everton and Forest found themselves in, actually, that, Man City should really, the public really should start to know about Man City's case?
I do believe that statement probably hinders more than it helps, because all it does is, okay, when? at some point in the future. Well, everybody's asking when. Let's get this resolved. How are you going to resolve it? They were very clear on dates and issues around the Forest and Everton. I think, again, as I've said repeatedly, the chairwoman, Alison Britton, needs to be held to account very seriously about this. Richard Masters has been the fall guy in the whole thing, and I fully accept he's got a lot to answer for. But as chairperson, in some of this biggest crisis the Premier League's ever had, she's been completely anonymous, completely absent, and she should be the one that the public are now being held, held to account, and she should be in front of a select committee as soon as possible, trying to work out, explain why and to work out what's going to happen next. These are big issues. And, we've all talked. I mean, Rishi Sunak had his big speech the other day, and he was saying again about how the Premier League is the envy of the world and it's a great asset. Well, we've got to be careful. And these are the sort of big issues that I've been mentioning. So it's about time that the Premier League swept up this mess and stopped it and got on with football.
We'll wrap up, Keith, and I'm intrigued to get your opinion. Pep Guardiola said that Manchester City's success is not down to money, or that others actually would be competing to the likes of Chelsea this season. What are your thoughts? Actually, can you give Man City credit? Can you give Pep Guardiola credit for the genius of a manager that he is? Or actually, is it fair for fans to call them out and say that, well, you have spent lots of money, and actually that is the main reason why you're doing so well?
Look, it's been famous in football for many years that there is a big correlation between pounds and points. I think that's irrefutable. But what I've got to say is I think Guardiola has proven to be a superb manager. I think there is a lot to be said for him, the way he's a man manager as well within the squad, the way he's played a certain style of football. And even though you've got multi-million-pound players, there's a lot of clubs that haven't made them work for them. He has. And so I think, yes, he deserves a huge amount of credit for the way he's played, the style they played and what they've done. I think he is a superb manager, and I think he deserves full credit on that. And I'm not going to say they've bought all the titles. The concern, obviously, is how they got the money to be able to spend it in the first place. So that's what these 115 charges seem to be about. However, no, I give him full credit, and they've been a joy to watch. I've got a particular soft spot for Jack Grealish, who I had at Villa, and I hope he does well. I mean, they've been great to watch. It's going to be a great finale to the season. We'll see tonight against Spurs what happens. But look, no, I think I'm a full admirer of City and the way they play their football, and we just hope that they've done it within the rules.